Alright guys, we're going to work on lesson 95 today. Before you start, you want to make sure that you've read page 602 and page 603. It's important that you read the assignment, the lesson, before you start working with me on the practice. If you think I'm going too fast or you need to go over something again, you can pause or rewind as needed. Also, when we're working on this, it's important that you write this down on a piece of paper as well, so you can use it for your written practice. All right, we're going to start with problem A, which is on page 604. And we've got some directions that apply to the first few problems on our lesson practice today. And it says, diagram each problem, then answer the question. So we need to diagram this problem. So A says 3/4 of 24 checkers were still on the board. So we've got a fraction here, 3/4, and we've got a total amount of checkers, which is 24. How many checkers were still on the board? Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to make a diagram that has 4 parts, because we know that 3/4, which is this number here, we know that the denominator, the 4, is how many groups we're going to make. So we're going to go ahead and draw a 4-line diagram. And we know that our total, I'm going to put the total up here, which is 24 checkers. All right, and we're going to break this into 4 groups because the denominator for 3/4 is 4. All right. So the first thing I want to do when I'm dividing 24 checkers into 4 groups is I'm going to show what it looks like as a division problem. So we know that 24 divided by 4 is going to be 6. 6 times 4 is 24. So we know that each one of these parts is going to be 6 checkers. This one's also 6 checkers. Every single one of them will be 6 checkers. One more, 6 checkers. Okay. All right. Now, the problem says that we're going to use 3/4. So this diagram here is 4/4, but we only want to use 3 of them. So let's go ahead and highlight. That's really dark. Let's see if the green is dark. Yeah, it's better. So we're going to highlight 3/4 of this diagram. And one more. So let's see here. This amount here is the amount on board. And then this part here is the amount not on board. 1/4 of it. So we need to figure out how many this is. So we could do 6 plus 6 plus 6, or I could just do 6 times 3, which is 18 checkers. So the answer to my, oops, I'm spelling that wrong. So the answer to my problem is going to be 18 checkers. And this is our diagram right here. So make sure that we've done the diagram because the directions say to. All right, and then this is our answer over here. So let's go ahead and go to B. It says the same thing. It says diagram each problem, then answer the question. 2/5 of 30 students. So we've got 2/5 here. That's a fraction. And then our total, which is 30 students, studies more than 1 hour for a test. How many students studied for more than 1 hour? Well, we know that 2/5, this part right here, looks like this is a fraction. And the denominator, this number here, is telling us how many parts we're going to have. So we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to draw a 5-box diagram, because there are 5 parts. That's what the denominator is telling us. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Notice that I'm using the blue lines to help me. All right. And then just like last time, we're going to write our total up top, which is 30 students. Now I need to break that 30 into 5 groups. So that would be a division problem, which is 30 divided by 5. Well, 6 times 5 is 30. So each one of these boxes is going to be 6 students. So we're going to write 6. Let's change the color. We're going to write 6 students. We're going to write that 5 times, 6 students, for our diagram. And 2 more. And 1 more. 6 students. Okay, and it says 2/5 of the students, of the 30 students, studied more than 1 hour. So let's find out how many that would be. So it would be 2 of these boxes. So let's go ahead and highlight. There's 1 box, and there's 2 boxes. So this part shows me the 2/5 that studied for more than 1 hour. How many students had studied for more than 1 hour? This part I don't need. All right, we just need the highlighted part, the two. And I know the part that's highlighted because it's my numerator. That's what is going there. That's why we highlighted those 2. So we could go 6 plus 6, or we could just do 6 times 2, because there's 2 groups, equals 12. It says how many students? We're going to write 12 students. So 2/5 studied for more than an hour, and then this part here is 3/5. They did not study more than an hour. Okay, our answer is 12 students. Let's go ahead and move on to C. It says the force of gravity on Mercury is about 1/3 the force of gravity on Earth. How much less would a tire weigh on Mercury if it weighs 42 pounds on Earth? Would the mass be the same? Why or why not? All right, so let's go ahead and write our fraction over here. We've got 1/3, and then we've also got 42 pounds. All right, so we want to start by making a diagram. So we're going to have a diagram that has, well, the denominator here is 3, so we're going to make a diagram that has 3 boxes. So it's 1, 2, 3. And our total was this 42 pounds. So all of the parts together would be 42 pounds. But we need to break this into 3 groups, because that's what our denominator is showing, is that this is broken into 3 groups. I'm going to draw the 3 boxes. Then I'm going to do my quick division problem, 42 divided by 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. We subtract. We're left with 1. Bring down our 2. And then 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 12 is 0. So each one of these boxes is going to be 14 pounds. 14 pounds and 14 pounds. So on Mercury, we just want one of these, 1/3. So on Mercury, we would weigh about 14 pounds. So let's go ahead and write that down. Mercury equals 14 pounds. But it also says how much less would the tire weigh on Mercury. So it doesn't want to know how much you weigh on Mercury. It wants to know how much less you weigh. So on Earth, you equal 42 pounds. Now, I could subtract this. That's one way to solve this problem. Let's see, we got 3 here. We got 12, so that leaves me with 8 and 28. So 28 pounds looks about right. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is we could just add these two, which is 14 times 2, which is also 28 pounds. So that's 2 ways. All right, would the mass be the same? Well, mass is how much stuff is inside you. Like how much mass you have never changes. It doesn't change if you're on the moon or if you're in outer space, if you're on Jupiter or Earth. It doesn't matter. Your mass is always the same. Your weight is the amount the gravity is pushing you down wherever you're at. So on Earth, you weigh 42 pounds, but your mass is the same as it would be on Mercury. So would the mass be the same? Well, yes. So let's go ahead and separate our answers with semicolons. Yes, and that's 2 answers. And we should probably, let's go back a little bit. Let's make sure. We should have 28 pounds less. And then we'll put our semicolon. But yes, here, semicolon. And then we have one more question. It says, why or why not? Well, the mass would be the same because mass is the same no matter where you are. So that would be what I write. I'd write the mass would be the same. Because mass is the same no matter where you're at. Because mass is the same no matter where you're at. Now this was a word problem answer and I wrote a sentence, so I'm going to fix this first letter here because I know this isn't English, but I want to make sure I have a capital letter at the beginning of my sentences. Right, so and I'm going to go back and make sure I answered all the questions. This is how much less would a tire weigh on Mercury? Well, I answered that right there. And then it says, would the mass be the same? And we wrote yes. And then it says why or why not, which is this part. So we answered all parts of the question. We had 3 questions it was going to ask us, so I'm going to circle my answer here. All right, there you go. So we have one more to do here. This last one doesn't make us do anything. It just wants us to write a sentence that explains the difference between mass and weight. So we just explained that, but I'm going to write you out a little bit more so you can understand what you would write if you were answering this question. So mass is the amount of matter, an object has. An object has. Period. Weight is the measure of the force of gravity on the object. So when it asks you to explain something, we want to have answers that look like this. Nice sentences, complete sentences, and they should explain your understanding. So I hope you guys understand the difference between mass and weight. It's kind of fun. All right. I hope you guys learned a little bit with this lesson, and I will see you guys at the next lesson. Have a good day.